All right, let's proceed to the next talking points of the show. Nigerian digital space to grow by about 10% in 2019 as more Nigerian companies are adopting technology to drive their businesses. Let's join Ademiju Aluko, CEO, James Consulting Company Ltd and Kemi Tijani, Head Business Application Solution at Microsoft Nigeria, in this exclusive interview. Thank you for joining us now. Let's continue this conversation from here as we take a look at the digital transformation in the Nigerian digital space and how this is impacting and disrupting, of course, the digital space in Nigeria. And I'm being joined by Mr. Ademiju Aluko, who is the CEO of James Consulting Company Limited. Thank you for joining me on the show. First, I want to ask, we've been talking about digitization, and of course the disruptions this will create in the Nigerian space. So what exactly is digital transformation and how significant it is in this time?
All right, thank you very much, Mr. Frank. Let me start by saying it's not a Nigerian thing, it's a global phenomenon. And the world of computing and the ubiquitous availability of digital data everywhere has made it very compelling for every serious business, every serious enterprise, every serious organization, and as well as every serious government to embrace digital transformation. Back in the days when the traditional ways of doing business and the traditional ways of communicating, they are no longer, they can support the requirement of they no longer can support the demand, that digitalization has brought to our world.
Okay.
All right. So you recall in the early 2000s we had in Nigeria the GSM, the telecom revolution that came, and that has changed a lot of things.
That's right.
The landscape has changed, and since the introduction of the GSM and the coming in of the telcos, a lot has changed, and it's very clear and obvious that if an organization, if a business, if a government is not digitizing, you're going to be left out of business. So it's a reality that has dawned on us. Like I said, it's not just a Nigerian thing, it's a global trend. You now want to offer streamlined services, to your customers. You want to optimize your processes. You want to run more efficiently. You want to do more with less. So how do you do that? This is what digitization has enabled us, to do. So so if you're not transforming, you will die. So I would want to say that it's either you transform or you die.
Okay, let me quickly ask. A lot of people will say, of course, digitization is here, but the issue of actually penetration, the issue of penetration is another issue as well. How do you think we can penetrate the larger market? Because it seems that not everyone is accepting this, even though you said that if you don't transform, it means that the person will have to be left out or die.
Let me ask you this. Imagine an individual who chooses not to use a mobile phone today. All right. So that person, how does that person, relate? How do you relate with people? How do you connect with industry? How do you connect? How do you do transactions? So we've been invaded, and positively so. Even though it's got its own challenges, but positively we've been invaded, and so you're left with no choice but to embrace digitizations, to embrace technology. And like we've been saying since we came here in the morning, it's a journey, it's not an event. It's a journey And every organization, every business, every individual is at some point in that journey. So it's not a question of, oh, I'm not going to adult, I'm not going to evolve. You will eventually do, because the way things are transforming, everything is going digital. All right, so it's just a question of when, to what extent, and how are you going to transform. But to say you're not going to transform, it's like you're saying you're not going to be breathing. So it is something that has happened to us, and we just have to embrace technology.
Okay, business again perhaps should be the one taking advantage of this, but again there are other challenges. You talk about some challenges that are. How do you think business can take this technology? Of course, we have various areas of technology integration and all of that. So how important and significant is digital transformation or digital integration is to business?
Right, let me take it this way. There is nothing that is more important to any business today more than data. All right? Data is everything. Data is life.
Okay.
Data, it's data you respond to be able to know what kind of product and services you would need to introduce into certain markets and into certain segments of the market. All right. So data is life. All right. And no organization, no business thrives, without having accurate data, and without having tools that it can use to analyze that data to make informed decisions. Now, so the question is, so how then do you gather data? The traditional ways of gathering data using pen and paper, no longer suffices anymore.
All right.
So and the data is available. All right. People are on social media all the time, talking about your product and services. All right. So you need to find a way of feeding on those data, to be able to know how the market or the industry is responding, to your products and services. All right. So because you got to run on data, so you got to deploy tools, that will enable you and help you to be able to get those data from wherever they're happening. All right. So today, everybody's on social media. You got all those platforms there, and we have data. We have tools that can help you to be able to mine those data, from all various platforms. People are all the time on the go on their mobile smartphone,
that's right.
doing a lot of things. So those things are generating data. All right. You have data everywhere. So you need to deploy an appropriate technology to be able to get those data and to be able to use those data, to transform the way you respond to the market needs, the kind of product and services. How do you optimize your product and services to be able to serve your customers better? These are results of data that you're getting, from everywhere. So you need digital platforms to be able to get those data, for you to be able to then transform and respond appropriately to the needs of the market that you're serving.
Okay, let's talk about, before I let you go, let's talk about the opportunities in the Nigerian space, digital space. How huge, how big are these opportunities? How big are we? If you look at other climes, of course, where the America and all of that, we've seen how they use data to drive, also to create job opportunities and to enlarge revenue and all of that. But in Nigeria, if you want to learn, what lesson do you think we can learn in creating a very huge opportunity that we can take advantage of here?
From my point of view, we've not even started scratching it at all. The reason being that there's a whole lot to do. We don't, even as a nation, we don't even have the right data, to make informed decisions. We don't have the right data, to formulate policies. Our budget today, what are the statistics that we use, to do our budget today? So we've not even started, we've not started scratching it, in any way. You need, so there's a lot of gap. And so the opportunities are huge, the opportunities are enormous. Of course, we know that we have our challenges, and part of the challenges that we have is broadband penetration. All right. So, but the good thing is that it's been getting better, and it will keep getting better. So we need deliberate effort on the part of industry players, and particularly on the part of the government, to improve on the penetration of broadband. So if there is internet availability everywhere, it then opens up a whole lot of opportunities. But of course, it comes with its own challenges too, cybersecurity and all that. But as those opportunities are coming, of course, we'll be dealing with the challenges that are unfolding from there.
You talked about data earlier, how we do not have enough data, where, of course, different agencies of government have their own data, and these data are not unified, well unified. How do you think you can address these challenges?
Well, I think for me, the government at an appropriate level needs to sit up and appreciate the fact that we've got this challenge. The problem I have is that nobody's talking about it. Nobody is accepting the fact that this is a big challenge. Most of the security issues that we have, they are hinged on the fact that we don't have accurate data. So the government at the appropriate level needs to sit up, and harmonize things. We're gathering data, disparate data from different agencies that are just doing their own things. Whereas as a nation, we should have a national database. Every single individual in the country, should be identifiable. There should be a unique identification, and should be traceable and should be trackable. So if we get this right, a whole lot of other things will follow. Seamlessly, it will be a lot easier to tackle the issue of insecurity. The culture of trust that we don't have today, there is not so much of trust, amongst ourselves. If we have accurate data, and everybody knows that that data is accurate and is traceable and is reliable, there will be a lot more in terms of people having confidence and trust even in the economy. An individual who has money today, prefer to go and invest our funds outside of the country. And that's why I'm talking about repatriating funds, from wherever. However, if we have accurate data, every individual in the country is identifiable, there will be a lot of trust in the country, and it would help a lot. It will help the government in being able to channel development projects, appropriately to where it's needed. The government can proactively also create social amenities, because we have accurate data of the number of people in certain areas, and we know what their needs are. We know their demographics, we know what the challenges are, and then so you find out that a budget process, would then be more effective. All right. So it's important that the government at an appropriate level, takes this very serious. For me, if a government comes in and decides and say they are giving themselves this tall order of ensuring that they are building a database that will be accurate, that will be reliable, that will be usable, that can be dependable, that all the agents of government can now connect to, I would say that that
But
government
could there
will
be a
have
possibility?
achieved a lot of things.
Could there be a possibility that perhaps the government is saying, look, this data may not be necessary at this time, or we have not grown to having a data?
There's no better time. It should have been done yesterday. All right? Even that growth you're talking about, what is going to help you to be able to plan for it? This should have been done yesterday. We should wake up and do it and get it done. We should have we should have records.
Okay, but just finally now, your parting shot in terms of, you talk about, we were talking about digital transformation and how we can drive this transformation over time, which we also talk about being strategic as well. So your parting shot in that area, in the next 4, 5, 10 years, where do you think the country will be in terms of integration?
Like I said earlier, it's important that deliberate efforts are made to ensure that there is increased broadband penetration. All right, I also think that there should be regulations, and the government should take interest in building local content. Most of the technology and the platforms that we're using today, you know, are foreign platforms. They are developed in other places. So the government should make deliberate effort, well-meaning Nigerians, organizations, specific industries should encourage development of local skills so that we can have things that we can call Nigerian. What stops us also from exporting technology from here, you know, to other climes? There is nothing that stops us from doing that. We've got the brains, we've got the talent. So deliberate effort should be made, you know, towards building that. I talked about broadband penetration. I talked about the government making deliberate effort in building local talent. And then we should also have some form of policy that would also not just encourage, but have some minimum enforcement for those local products and services to be patronized. I made in my closing remark when I made my presentation earlier that excellence is not an accident. It's a deliberate effort, okay, with sincere intention and with genuine strategy to execute. So excellence doesn't come by accident. It comes by a deliberate effort. If this country will achieve excellence, then we've got to wake up, and there must be deliberate effort, you know, sincere intention that the government is channeling towards achieving excellence.
Well, let's leave it there. CEO, GEM Consulting Company Limited, Ademiju Aluko. Thank you for your time.
Thank you one more time.
Thank you so much.
Thank you for having me.